Probably one of the top 3 most asked questions by readers after they finish the Wheel of Time series is, who is Nakomi? Welcome to Unraveling the Pattern. I'm Lauren, and in this video, I'm going to talk all about my favorite Nakomi theories. Warning, this video contains full Wheel of Time book spoilers, so do not watch this if you haven't read all of the Wheel of Time books. The Wheel of Time companion says, Nakomi is a mysterious Aiel woman whom Aviendha met in the Waste. Bear told Aviendha that she knew no one named Nakomi, but that it was an ancient name, and that's it. So why is Nakomi such a huge mystery and source of so many wild theories? There's very little other information about Nakomi from the books, but did you know that we'll soon learn more? We were told by Brandon Sanderson that he will be allowed to reveal more about Nakomi 10 years after A Memory of Light was published in 2013, which is just around the corner. And it turns out we'll be getting our answers about Nakomi even sooner than that. A new Wheel of Time book by Michael Livingston called Origins of the Wheel of Time, not to be confused with the Wheel of Time Origins animated shorts on Amazon Prime, is coming out wherever books are sold on November 8th, 2022, and some people are already getting their hands on it. I recently released a video that summarizes everything you need to know about the upcoming book, and it also features a wonderful interview I got to do with Professor Livingston. Be sure to check it out. Among many other interesting tidbits from Robert Jordan's notes, Origins of the Wheel of Time will reveal more details about the big Nakomi mystery. I haven't seen the book yet, and we only have a few weeks left, so I thought it would be fun to run through my favorite Nakomi theories. Remember, this video contains full series spoilers, including discussion of the very last chapter in the books. This is your last chance to look away. Nakomi only appears twice in the books that we know of, and one of those appearances has not been officially confirmed. We know she appeared once to Aviendha in the Aiel Waste, and we think she appeared once to Rand after the last battle. Nakomi's first known appearance happens in a chapter called In the Threefold Land in Book 12, Towers of Midnight. Aviendha makes camp in the Aiel Waste, just before going to Ruidion to enter the glass columns for her second Wise One test. There she contemplates her role as a future Wise One, and she thinks about how she can help to preserve the remnant of the Aiel. She does this while, quote, closing her eyes for a moment, letting the day's fatigue melt away. She's startled by a sound, and sees a middle-aged woman with furrowed skin and graying hair. And though Aviendha heard her at the camp, she's confused about how the woman made it this close without hearing her approach. The woman asks to share water, saying, quote, I am traveling far and saw your fire. She introduces herself as Nakomi. Aviendha cannot sense the ability to channel in Nakomi, and even though Nakomi is wearing average female Aiel clothing, and not the traditional clothing of a Wise One or Cadansor, Aviendha thinks there's something about her and assumes she is like a Wise One. They discuss the Karakarn and the Threefold Land and the purpose of the Waste to shape the Aiel, to test their courage, and to punish them for their sins. Nakomi produces many different things from her small pack, like branches, plates, a teapot, and food. Aviendha is perplexed multiple times by Nakomi, and by the strangeness of the fire, the delicious taste of the food that seems to cook too fast, and by Nakomi's cryptic responses. When Aviendha asks Nakomi where she's traveling to, and which sept she is from, Nakomi says, I am far from my roof, yet not far at all. Perhaps it is far from me. I cannot answer your question, apprentice, for it is not my place to give this truth. Nakomi causes Aviendha to think about the future of the Aiel in a way she hadn't considered before, and then after talking about being the people of the dragon and mentioning the Aiel way of life in italics, Nakomi excuses herself saying, I need to see to nature. She walks into the darkness and disappears. After Aviendha goes looking for her, she comes back to the camp to find all of Nakomi's belongings are gone. Her second appearance happens even more briefly after the last battle in the very final chapter of the series, the epilogue actually, which is entitled To See the Answer. After Rand's epic battle of wills with the Dark One and with Moradin, and the full sealing of the Boar, Rand slips in his own blood as he stumbles out of the tunnel from Shaiel Ghul. Rand is carrying something heavy, presumably Moradin's body, and he barely makes it out of the opening of Shaiel Ghul before it closes shut behind them. He trips and falls alongside the body he was carrying, and a partially seen figure of a woman kneels down beside him. I'll quote the book directly for this next part. Yes, a woman whispered. Yes, that is good. That is what you need to do. He blinked, his vision fuzzy. Was that Aiel clothing? An old woman with gray hair? Her form retreated, and Rand reached toward her, not wanting to be alone. wanting to explain himself. "I see the answer now," he whispered. "I asked the Aelfin the wrong question. To choose is our fate. If you have no choice, then you aren't a man at all. You're a puppet." Shouting, Rand felt heavy. He plunged into unconsciousness. And that's it. That's all we get of her. A few things of note. Aviendha describes her encounter with Nakomi as being dreamlike, and some very odd, likely Teleronriad type things happen while Nakomi visits with Aviendha. Aviendha thinks about her need to help the Aiel in the future, just before Nakomi appears. We know that while in the world of dreams, strong thoughts of need often bring you to the thing, or bring the thing to you that you need. Nakomi says to Aviendha, "I am far from my roof, yet not far at all. Perhaps it is far from me. I cannot answer your question, apprentice, for it is not my place to give this truth." We know that heroes of the Horn reside in the world of dreams between reincarnations, and that they follow certain rules or precepts that are never fully explained. I've always wondered who made and enforced those precepts. Anyway, Nakomi seems to understand certain Aiel customs and words, and even a recipe, but also seems a bit distant or less contemporary than the current Aiel culture. Nakomi talked to Aviendha of the Aiel's covenants and their reasoning for the threefold land, which they saw as a three-part lesson: to shape the Aiel, to test their courage, and to punish them for their sins. Nakomi sort of helps Aviendha realize that the Aiel have fulfilled their purpose in the Waste. She speaks of their, quote, way of life in italics, which has a strong way of the leaf vibe to me. Another thing of note is that Nakomi says she must, quote, see to nature. This definitely makes me think of Mother Nature and causes me to make connections between the creator or his creations like the earth and Nakomi being a sort of protector or possibly watcher over the earth. While it hasn't been officially confirmed that Nakomi is the woman that appeared to Rand in the end, it's very, very likely the case, because Brandon Sanderson said in a Q&A that there's another hint about Nakomi in A Memory of Light, the final book, and that the hint can be found sometime between the chapter called The Last Battle and the end of the book. Assuming it is Nakomi who appears to Rand, what was she telling him? Why was she saying, yes, that is good, that is what you need to do? Many fans think that she was somehow encouraging him or helping him or guiding him to swap bodies with Moradin. Rand thinks about how heavy the body that he is carrying is, and then the section ends with Rand himself feeling heavy and plunging into unconsciousness. The assumption is that Rand and Moradin swapped bodies or finished the process of swapping bodies somehow at that moment. In a way, I'm very excited to learn more about Nakomi's origins, but I'm also going to be a little sad because for me, one of my favorite parts of being a Wheel of Time fan is discussing theories, and this is one of the biggest unanswered questions that we've all discussed for years. Soon we might not have as much time to theorize about it, though I'm guessing we'll still not get the full answer that some of us are hoping for. Anyway, there are many theories about Nakomi and her origins. I made a post on Reddit and on my Discord server asking for people's favorite theories. I'm just going to briefly summarize most of them, and then talk about my personal favorite theory. I'm not suggesting that some of these theories are wrong and that mine is right, but we all have our personal pet theories, and I want to talk more about mine. It is my right since this is my channel. Also, keep in mind that this is not a fully detailed, comprehensive list of every Nakomi theory, just the most popular ones. There's a really great Dusty Wheel livestream that delves deeper into many Nakomi theories that I highly recommend. I'll leave a link to that and to the Dusty Wheel Nakomi primer video in the description as well. In no particular order, here are my favorite theories. Nakomi is a hero of the Horn. And to go into that a little bit deeper, there's a theory that says that Nakomi is a hero of the Horn, specifically the female version of the Champion of the Light, Amarasu. Credit goes to Reddit user Deprecated0 for this one. I'll leave a link to his comment on Reddit if you'd like to learn more. It's a really good theory, but here's a basic summary. We know that Amarasu appears during the battle in Falma, and again during the last battle when the Horn of Valir is blown, so she could have been in the real world to help Rand in the end, and she could have been in Teleronriad to talk with Aviendha. We also know that Amarasu is the female version of the Champion of the Light. It's possible that her last incarnation was an Aiel woman, possibly a Jenn Aiel called Nakomi. The world would remember her as the hero she was, not necessarily as her latest incarnation as Nakomi. I do personally like the idea that the female version of the Champion of the Light watches over and helps the male version, or the dragon, during certain ages, and vice versa. Like all Nakomi theories, it doesn't take much to find holes or inaccuracies. For example, Brandon Sanderson specifically said in a Q&A that we haven't seen Nakomi in any other guise in the books. This pretty much eliminates just about every hero of the Horn theory. Another popular theory is that Nakomi is one of the last Jenn Aiel, that perhaps she was trapped in Ruidion until the fog was lifted, and she was then reintegrated into the world. My only nitpick with this theory, which is otherwise very solid in my opinion, is that she serves meat to Aviendha, which doesn't really jive with the Jenn Aiel way of life. Shansani summarizes this well in my Discord server. My theory is very simple. Nakomi is the last of the Jenn Aiel Wise Ones of Ruidion, who has taken advantage of the time-dilating properties of Ruidion to extend her lifetime into the current age. If Nakomi is a channeler, she can live for hundreds of years as it is. If she lives in Ruidion, more or less full-time, she can extend that lifetime even more. We know that the people who went into Ruidion only experienced a day there, but from the perspective of the people waiting for them, a week had passed. For Nakomi to be 3,000 years old, she would only have to be 428 years old if she lived in Ruidion. I also think Ruidion's time dilation shield is the same one-power technology that the seals of Shaiel were created from, and the same as the stasis boxes. My proof? I don't have any. To go even deeper, I really do like the theory that many of the Jenn Aiel possibly gave up their own lives as a sort of sacrifice to the columns in Ruidion in order to preserve their history, and that after the fog was lifted and the modern Aiel started to move in, the Jenn Aiel souls that were trapped there were freed, and some of them continued to live among the Aiel. When Rand and Mat leave Ruidion in the Shadow Rising, after Rand goes through the columns and Mat is saved from hanging by his neck on the Tree of Life, they're attacked by dusty warriors. Rand and Mat assume that these dust creatures are a bubble of evil, but I like the idea that maybe these are actually protectors of the city, or souls of the Jenn Aiel that are left there to keep people out of the city against their customs. Could they be what creates the fog? Rob from the Malkier Talks YouTube channel also has a Malkier Talks podcast, and he and I talked about this in much greater detail a while back. I'll include a link to that podcast if you'd like to learn more. We also discussed a bunch of other really fun Nakomi theories during that podcast. Another wild theory that I love but don't actually believe is that Nakomi is a future version of Aviendha, who has traveled back in time to visit her past self to point her on the right path towards helping the Aiel and helping Rand. There's a lot that goes into this theory, but there are many that believe that Aviendha has a strange talent that allows her to create traveling gateways that are actually different from normal gateways. Some think that she can actually travel through time with her unique gateways. If you reread the series, and especially the Aviendha points of view with this in mind, you might be convinced that this is true. Strange things like how the sun doesn't sit right in the sky between her gateways, as well as her constant concerns about getting the weave right and failing, add to the loony theory. Robert Jordan sort of fueled this theory a little at times by sort of winking and saying read and find out to people when they asked him about Aviendha's supposed time-traveling gateways. Another theory is that Nakomi could be Rand's mother, Tigraine, or Shaiel, sort of like a Mother Mary kind of situation. Some think that she survived or was possibly given another lease on life after Dragonmount, and that she was just watching over her son. Another very popular theory is that Nakomi is an avatar or representative for the creator, just as Shaidar Haran is a sort of avatar or representative of the Dark One. I actually really love this theory, and this is part of the theory that I have that I'll explain later. Other theories include the idea that Nakomi is Varen, which was shut down by Brandon Sanderson, or that Nakomi is one of the ghosts that sort of leak through as the pattern begins to unravel and the Dark One's influence increases. But then how was she there after the bore was sealed? Another theory suggests that she's even older than the Jenn Aiel, that she could be one of the Daishan Aiel from the Age of Legends and a resident of Ruidion. And there are theories that perhaps she's not the creator's avatar, but an avatar of the pattern itself. Okay, so here is my theory. Combining my thoughts about Nakomi's link with creation and Mother Earth, this theory is also heavily influenced by something that Harriet said at a Q&A about Nakomi. Here's the transcript of that conversation. After Brandon sort of dodged a question about Nakomi, Harriet pitched in and said, "Nakomi wandered in from the Song of Hiawatha." You can learn more about this from a 13th Depository article and the Wikipedia articles that I left in the description. The Song of Hiawatha is a short poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow about Native American folklore, specifically Ojibwe First Nation folklore. In variations of this story, there are a few important characters, including Nanabozo or Manabozo, also sometimes called Hiawatha, and Nokomis, which literally translates to my grandmother. In some of the stories, Hiawatha's or Nanabozo's mother dies in childbirth, which leaves Hiawatha to be raised by Nokomis, his grandmother. Among other things, Nokomis and Nanabozo or Hiawatha are linked with creation and even something akin to the Dragon's Peace, where they were instrumental in guiding different tribes to peace, literally unifying the East and West, North and South. Hiawatha is a dragon-like parallel. Okay, so with that in mind, let's talk briefly about something the Borderlanders are fond of saying as last rites during a funeral. May you shelter in the palm of the Creator's hand, and may the last embrace of the Mother welcome you home. Here's my theory. Nakomi is not literally Rand's grandmother, but she's a sort of symbolic mother who's linked with the land, and either she is the creator or she's tasked by the creator to watch over the chosen one, in this case Rand, and to ensure that he completes his mission to keep creation, including the land and the earth, safe from the Dark One, and to keep the wheels spinning and the pattern weaving. I find it interesting that a big booming voice speaks to Rand on 2 different occasions, similar to how the Dark One also speaks, and yet when Nakomi briefly speaks to Rand, she whispers. Could the booming voice be a version of Nakomi? The Dark One is considered to be a male, or at least goes by he, him in the books. So does the creator, but wouldn't it make more sense that the antithesis of the Dark One, the creator, would be akin to a female? Yin and yang and all that. I think that if she's not the literal creator, then she's sort of an avatar for the creator, the palm of the creator's hand, so to speak. Shaidar Haran, the avatar for the Dark One, is literally translated to mean the Dark One's hand, or hand of the dark. I think Nakomi is the mother, meaning Mother Earth. Perhaps she gives people their sort of last embrace before or during their deaths. In the Great Hunt, after Rand confronts Ba'alzamon for his second time, and they battle in the sky above Falma, Rand is badly hurt when Ba'alzamon stabs him in the side and creates that never fully healed wound that Rand continues to deal with throughout the series. After Rand finishes the fight in the sky, Min goes looking for him, and she's drawn to a building down in Falma. There's this small blink and you miss it moment where Min finds Rand in a garden behind the building, sort of cradled under a large oak tree. How did Rand get there? He was outside of Falma in a field before he fought Ba'alzamon in the sky. To me, this is the palm of the creator's hand. Remember how the land is one with the dragon and the dragon is one with the land? And the creator is compared to a gardener? Rand wakes up in a garden overshadowed by a large oak tree. We call many of these strange occurrences in the books PLEs, or pattern level events. Strange things like Rand appearing in the sky, or the booming voice that Rand hears, and his strange abilities at the end of the Eye of the World that are never fully explained. I think perhaps Nakomi is a physical embodiment of the land, or the creator, or his creations, or even the pattern, who watches over and sometimes intervenes in small ways to help the Chosen One to fulfill his or her mission throughout the ages. I know it's a kind of crazy theory, but that one's my favorite. Also, maybe I'm looking too deep into this, but I brought this theory up briefly with Michael Livingston in the interview, and is it just me or did he put on a kind of unconvincing poker face? The Nakomi question, I remember there was like one thing that Harriet said in one place about the Song of Hiawatha. And so I have a whole Nakomi theory based around this Nokomis character from Native American, and because she said one thing. And so, people have theories about the wandering Jew and how that's connected. There are just so many influences. And Nakomi, in my opinion, is one of the best things to speculate about because there are so many little pieces of that kind of a character in, so many cultural stories and backstories. So anyway, okay. Do I have you convinced? I could talk more about this for hours, but we don't have much time before the book is out, and these kinds of discussions might be obsolete. I'd love to hear your favorite Nakomi theories in the comments. If you haven't yet pre-ordered or purchased Origins of the Wheel of Time by Michael Livingston, you can find a link to it below in the description and in the comments. There's an affiliate link you can click to purchase the book if you want to help support me, but I've also included a regular link to the book if you want to just purchase the book without supporting my channel. I'm perfectly okay with that. Thanks for watching and liking and subscribing. Thanks to my YouTube and Patreon supporters. May you shelter in the palm of the Creator's hand, and may the last embrace of the Mother welcome you home. When the time is right, of course. Don't go dying on me now.